Hello.
Hey Andre, what's happening?
Hey Shannon. um uh, some stuff is happening. I'm having a lot of thoughts about hi everyone, welcome to Scary Talk episode 30 whatever. We are here and we're going to talk to you about some spooky stuff today, but before we do that, I have some thoughts I want to share. Shannon, the decade is about to end in less than 90 days. What the fuck?
Ew.
Um I know. I know. We are old and we stink. Um
How did you know? I'm like 400 miles away.
No, it's just it's a pungent smell. It reaches. Anyway, less than 90 days till the decade ends. That is crazy. Shannon, if you had to describe this decade to someone who like wasn't alive at the time or was too young in the future, how would you describe it?
A twirling hellscape.
Okay, that's not bad. I kind of dig that.
Like, what else can you say?
No, that's fair. I was thinking I would just refer them to Big Sean's song "Ass" with Nicki Minaj and be like, "Listen to this. This was this decade. Just ass, 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 ass. Like that was the 2010s."
Can we
basically.
have a
I'm
recap?
kind of
Let's just recap, okay?
okay. Just ass, ass, ass.
That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant at all. But I'm sure some people
That's
appreciate
the only
that.
thing I can think about.
I'm thinking, okay, so we opened in 2010, and I think Hannah Montana might have still been on. I'm not really sure. Keep in mind that I have
It
bad
was
memory.
till like early 2011. I know
Okay.
because I'm a true stand, unlike you.
Okay, and then we have the 2012 apocalypse scare because every decade needs one.
Yes. Which, listen, I have actually thought that maybe the world ended in 2012, and that's like we're all dead, or like we're in a simulation, and that's why like the world just went like fucking crazy after
So
that.
how do we wake up? How do we get out of it?
I guess we don't. I guess actually we are dead, and death just happens to be a simulation. And as you know we've spoken about simulations. You can't exit them.
Well, that
So
fucking sucks.
this is it. Trump is president.
Ew. Okay. And then we have 2014, which I think this is when Taylor moved to pop music. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fully.
Yeah. That was like the transition.
We had seen the signs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2016, I feel like yesterday was 2016. So I think at this point,
You're skipping.
Obama was still in office.
You're skipping. He was, but you're skipping 2015. Like Demi Lovato's "Cool for the Summer," iconic gay song of the year.
That was, wow.
Can't just,
Okay.
That was 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. God, I miss her lesbian face. Anyway, 2016 happened. 2016 was literally like, I think the decade should be, if anything, separated between like pre 2016 and post 2016.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to David about this, and he agrees with that. I said it's almost as if that year kind of marked, like, it literally split the country in half. Like, it cracked it in half, almost like an ass crack. Very fitting. And yeah, like, it's a different time now. Like, we live in a different time. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I miss pre 2016 America. Like, fucking party rock anthem, like shuffling with neon pants, like around the street, like that's I won that. I won that bag. Now what do we have? Fucking like depression memes, like.
The depression memes aren't going anywhere. In fact, I'm a perpetrator of them in my everyday life, and I don't regret that.
I just miss senseless fun and trash pop. Everything now is so serious and sad, and I know that we're gonna get out of it, like maybe come the early 2020s, because like everything is a phase always. But I'm not loving this one. This is not the phase that I'm gonna stand 20 years from now when I look back. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, that's what's been on my mind.
So interesting. I like that you've been thinking about
Um,
that.
Yeah, how are you? What's been on your mind? Hi.
Definitely not that. I tend to disassociate from time altogether.
Yeah.
I have been thinking a lot about skincare. I don't know if we had this discussion, but I
No, but we should. We should.
I have been thinking about how you really just you wear your age on your skin, It's your neck, your hands. Those really give it away, but your face also. And it's just I didn't realize how important it was to wear sunscreen And so I've just been slathering that on. I'm doing whatever it takes. I have been wearing face masks like once a night. And I'm just really trying to dig deep into this, because in 40 years, I want to look 20, okay?
Listen, JLo can do it, so can you. This is good, Shannon. The fact that you're wearing sunscreen.
Oh my God, Andre.
Like,
can we talk
what?
about JLo? Because I saw Hustlers, and let me tell you, that's the movie of 2019.
That is a good movie. I don't know if it's the movie 2019. I'm kind of still waiting for the last 3 months. I mean, you honestly never know what could happen. But I do hear that there's Oscar buzz around her. I'm not sure that. I mean, I'm sure she deserves a nomination. I'm not sure if she deserves like the Best Actress Oscar. That's kind of big, and I don't know that the performance was like like breathtaking or anything. But she was really good. And she's definitely like a way better actress than she was during her early 2000s like rom-com days. Like she's grown as an actress. Like kudos to her. That's really nice. That's really good.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, the movie was good. I liked it. It was fun. It was touching. It had a message. I thought it was well crafted, and she was really good in it. I liked it.
Oh yeah, I lived for it. Except for Julia Stiles. That whole part was completely unnecessary. I hate framing devices.
Really?
Yeah, hate it.
Well, you are a writer after all, so you can tell me about that. Is that I've heard that having that, she basically functions, for those who you haven't seen the movie, she basically functions as this kind of external narrator because she's outside of the actual storyline, and she's in the kind of, I wouldn't even call it the fourth plane because that's not correct, but like she is not in the story, but she is with one of the protagonists who is narrating this story to her, and so she acts as the audience member. She's the listener basically, because I guess it's too difficult to do like some of the exposition, like it would have taken too long, I don't know, so they just have to have like what's her name, Clarence Wu, like narrated basically like in bits and pieces to this quote unquote interviewer. I said Clarence Wu.
It's Constance
Wu.
Wu.
It's a weird ass name. Whatever. Anyway, so okay, I've heard that that's lazy writing.
It is.
Is that true?
It's absolutely lazy because
Okay.
everything that they were talking about, Constance and Julia Stiles, was already going to be explained in the next scene or had already been explained. It was completely unnecessary. The only thing that it added was the fact that she told her in the end that her friend was still like, thinking about her. But like that wasn't a full movie's worth of framing devices necessary.
I mean, if you think if you're saying it was still explained in the following scenes, then do you think the filmmakers did it just to make sure that the dumb audience members in the back got it?
No, because at the end of the day, they could have kept the narration and nixed Julia Stiles. Yeah. You could have just had her be narrating. The whole like interview thing did nothing for the plot. It took me out of it. It was just boring. She had no right to be in that world. It didn't make sense. Like, it's just dumb.
That's interesting. I mean, I didn't think that. I guess it didn't bother me very much. Like, when I think about it analytically, like I said, I've heard that that's lazy writing. I can totally see how that is the case. But I guess it didn't really bother me at the time. I still thought it was a good movie. And JLo looks fucking sick for 50. Like,
oh my God.
Holy shit.
Holy
like
shit.
The stripping scene.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. And that was her. That was no double. Like, I watched on YouTube. She has a YouTube channel now because who does it in 2019? And she like posted like a BTS basically of her getting taught how to do pole dancing, and she like bruised her legs basically for 2 weeks straight in order to just get that one scene. And it's crazy. Like, it's crazy. And she looks amazing. And she's 50 years. She's half a century old, and she looks better than you and I ever will. Let's get real.
Yeah.
So there's that.
She is so firm.
Yeah, maybe I will get into depression memes because after seeing JLo at 50, I'm just sad now.
Andre, if it makes you feel better, I looked in the mirror today and I was like, "What is that? What is that? And why is it in my house?"
You were like, Miranda, is that you?
I'm uglier than Miranda. I want that to be made abundantly clear.
Okay, so everyone, we're talking about vampires today. Sucky, sucky. Why is it that? Vampires. That's what we decided to do for this week. I hope you like it. Hi, everyone. I have some background for you. So, for those of you who, I'm not gonna fucking say that. You all know what a vampire is, but let's give some more like historical kind of folklore-ish background, I guess. So, Vampires at some point were actually a legit belief that people had. I mean, I guess I should preface this with saying that this isn't going to be the episode where Andre is like, I believe vampires are real. I do not. I don't believe everything is real. Thank you very much. I know people think that, but I do not.
By people, he means me.
But by people, I mean you and my boyfriend, who laughs at me all the time because I think the Mothman is real, but he can go fuck himself. So listen, vampires. Vampires, again, at a time, they were believed to be real in not just North America, but the Balkans, like Eastern Europe, all around the world, actually. They weren't known exactly as vampires. They obviously had different names to them, but it was all the same concept. It was a human that subsisted on feeding himself or herself, on the vital force of the living. And generally that meant blood. Something that I found interesting on the research that I did was that sometimes that does not mean blood. Like, it can mean, think of like a dementor, like they suck your soul. And I'm like, how does that work exactly? I'm not sure, but apparently it's not always blood. It's just somehow like sucking your life energy out of you.
Can it
one way or the other? So
can it suck your dick?
What? Yeah, I guess I could suck your dick and then suck some of your life force out. I mean, listen, there's no parameters to this, right? So, okay, this started in Europe. In Europe, as all Gothic things do.
It's because they're so damn pasty over there.
I know. They just, like, the lack of sun, it just makes them conjure these fucking things up, and they just stick, and they become culture, and here we are 400 years later. Now, listen up. So, in European folklore, vampires, well, actually, I'm just going to read this right off the article, because it explains it way better than any way I could paraphrase it. Vampires were undead beings that often visited loved ones and caused mischief or deaths in the neighborhoods they inhabited while they were alive. Okay, so this is like the old-timey European folklore, how they thought of it. Vampires were alive when they caused mishaps and misfortune. They weren't undead, but they were alive. So this is different. Apparently, once they died, like vampires were a thing that you were supposed to kill. They were like any other cryptid, basically. And once you did, like, you were good. That's it. That's the end of the evil. Whereas now we think of them as like, oh, well, maybe they never even died. Maybe they just were human and then they just turned into this. But you can't kill them. I mean, I guess you can kill them. You know, when you look at folklore, there's the thing of like, stabbing them with
Steak.
A silver, yeah, I guess. But other than that, vampires don't die. Like, if you just, I guess you could cut its head, maybe. It's really confusing, but like, you can't really stab a vampire and it'll die. You can't shoot a vampire and it'll die. Well, I guess unless it's a silver bullet, but you know what I'm saying. Like, usually these things, even though they've never died, like they've never had a death, they are now pretty much like immortal, lest you do something like stab him with a fucking silver stick. So it's interesting how this concept changed, and it changed a lot after Bram Stoker's Dracula novel, and that was late 19th century. Yes. That revolutionized the concept of the vampire that was already present in Europe at the time, but he really changed it up because he added some more new elements. He made the character of the Dracula of a vampire much more charismatic, much more suave, and that's kind of the concept that we have to this day. I mean, like, except Twilight, but other than that, that's pretty much what we have still.
Let's not bring Twilight into this.
It inevitably had to be brought in at some point, so this is it. I'll just say, listen, Team Jacob. That's all I'll say, actually. I have nothing else to say. Team Jacob.
No, I'm going to say Team Buffy. Kill them both.
Kill them both. Fair. Beyond going into kind of side notes, that's really the main background that I have on vampires. Something that I found interesting was that although people like today generally hold the concept of vampires to be fictitious, we still have things like the chupacabra. Like, this article reminded me that we still believe in the chupacabra, which is a thing, and I believe in the chupacabra, and it's basically like this little humanoid-ish being that sucks cows' blood. So, I mean, are vampires that far off? I don't know. I think the concept. Listen, I think the concept of like a human population of vampires is far off because just no. But like the concept of like one or two like really freaky, like some kind of cryptid, like combination human mix something existing. Maybe the chupacabra is one of those things. Like who the fuck knows? But no, I don't think there's like the army of the undead, like hot vampires that all follow the Cullen family into war with the world. No. Especially not over fucking Kristen Stewart, pardon me. But anyway, that's what I have.
We just isolated a quarter of our fan base. They all love Twilight, and they all love Kristen Stewart.
I hope that's not our fan base.
Well, please DM us if that's your fan base and you now are canceling us. Yeah, that's all you can really do because we don't stand Twilight.
Yeah, we're good. But listen, Kristen Stewart is now living her truest life. She has short blonde hair. She's fully gay. She's gonna be in the new Charlie's Angels movie. She's doing her thing. We're happy for her. We stand.
Yeah, we're happy for that.
We just don't stand the Twilight movies.
No. Yeah, we're happy for the choices she's made post Twilight. Let's say that.
Yes. Like getting rid of that awful fucking like brunette wig. Boo. Bye. Anyway.
I thought you were gonna say getting rid of Robert Pattinson.
Listen. Trump tweeted that was a mistake, and I don't know. Maybe the guy's right, so I can't say that was a good or a bad thing.
Trump is never right. Let's just clear that up. All right, so I kind of want to take you on a spooky tour, exploring historical vampires. Also, I was thinking a lot, actually, about how we shouldn't be called Scary Talk. We should be called Spoopy Talk, because we're not quite spooky. We're not quite scary.
Yeah.
We're spooky.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Okay, well, there's an official rebranding going on, everyone, as of today.
Yeah.
Fucking Spoopy Talk.
See you for episode 39 on Spoopy Top. All right, so I'm going to be covering an article from the Smithsonian magazine.
I can tell you don't work there.
I never once in my life thought about working there, and they would not hire me. So this was published in October 2012. Crazy that was 7 years ago. What? Oh my god. Okay.
Yep. Decade's ending. We're getting old. We're gonna die.
We're going to die. That is a fact, yes. So Abigail Tucker is the journalist who wrote this. It's called Meet the Real Life Vampires of New England and Abroad. And we are, Andre, we are going to meet some New England vampires. We're going to meet some European vampires. We're going to go with it, you know? We're going to talk to them.
Well, I'm not wearing pants, so I am no condition to meet anyone, but let me get something. Okay, go ahead.
Is that really what happens when we record this podcast?
Yeah, just pantless Andre. Just
Wow.
probably like just eating something on the side as you speak, just talking into a mic. That's what I do. That's my jam. This is the podcast.
Is that how you want Zozo to meet you?
He's already met me. You know it from last week's episode. And also the first episode we even talked about him, so stop.
He knows what's up. All right, so in Rhode Island, and we're talking like New England time, so this is over a century. So like we have all these farm families that were coming over or whatever. And, you know, people back then, they weren't the brightest bunch. Let's just say that. You know, like...
People today aren't their brightest bunch.
You're not wrong, but like... they wanted to farm, you know, they wanted to survive. They didn't worry too much about them city folk, whatever was going on. And so what happened was this vampire craze, I think that you'd kind of mentioned before. This craze of like, oh my god, vampires are real, vampires are coming for us. That happened in Europe. It was also kind of reaching New England at this time in America. And so these fucking families, they would just dig up their dead relatives because they thought they were vampires.
Just to check. Just checking. You're checking, Grandma?
Yeah, sorry, Grams. And they would desecrate them, you know? And if you think about it, like, they were trying to kill the vampire, but it's still desecration of a corpse. Like, they would stab them with a stake, they would decapitate them, they would convince themselves that by doing this that they were suddenly safe. But it's like, that's disgusting. Why did you do that? But they were so
No, you're
certain.
right. Yeah.
And
people were definitely dumber.
only slightly. And there were vampire hunters during this time as well who would come and remove the hearts from the bodies and burn them. So that's something else.
Listen, you might not love your job or me mine, but fuck.
That's a job.
I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Like, that's not even like good imagery. Like, you're just burning an organ. Like, why are you doing that? I don't get it.
I mean, just the fact that you have to take it out, the fact that you're the one responsible for that, like,
Oh, yeah.
and like medical technology wasn't top notch 200 fucking years ago, so I bet you this fucking like Van Helsing type dude was just like reaching into their
Cracking
chest
open
fucking
the-
cavity with his bare hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like
It's like, oops, got some sternum here, got some ribs here. Gonna have to snap
Yeah,
that.
I'm good.
Sorry, Grams.
no ma'am.
So, like, this practice began in Eastern Europe, and then it spread to France and England, and then to New England in the 1800s. And Rhode Island was definitely a sphere for this kind of craziness. And so, like, why did they think they were vampires? Like, what made them come up with this ridiculous idea? So a person would die, and as we know in this time, y'all can die at the drop of a hat. Like, they didn't really, like, know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
They
Like,
just
got the
didn't.
flu, you're dead. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
Fatality.
Instant death. And so if you got, like, a contagious disease and you just died of a disease, and in New England, everyone had tuberculosis. Like, literally everyone. So they, like, die, and so people think, oh my god, this person just died mysteriously. I think that they're going to spread this disease to my family by draining my family members' blood. And that's how they thought that sickness passed from one person to another, is by vampires coming and drinking from their family and giving them that disease. And so,
All right.
yeah, I don't know why they thought this, but that's what they landed on. And so they wanted to protect their community, which is why they started exhuming bodies and burning and beheading corpses, which is disgusting. And that's not like the sexy vampire story we're used to hearing, you know? That's not hot.
Which, if anything, like dismembering bodies and exposing yourself to bodily fluids, if anything, only exposed you more
Exactly.
to anything that corpse had while it was alive.
Exactly. Like, how stupid do you have to be? And then here's, like, the nail in the coffin. I made a joke. Oh, my God. Anyway, so they would, like, open up the grave, right? And you know, like, there's normal signs of decomposition. Like, the stomach will bloat and there will be bleeding from orifices.
Did you know that some corpses shit?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like post-mortem,
Okay, well-
yeah.
Defecation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Because they gotta empty
like
out.
your muscles loosen up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, your muscles loosen up and whatever. Like if you were holding in a fat one, like right before you got shot, like as soon as you're dead, your sphincter's like, boom, bye bye,
Yeah.
going to heaven now.
Yeah, it's like rigor mortis just squeezes it out like toothpaste. Anyway, so my point is, so when they saw these bloated bodies, what they thought in their mind was, oh my god, this person just ate. They just had blood for dinner. That's why they're so bloated. So they took this as evidence that the vampires were actually rising from the dead at night and feeding. It's like how...
I mean,
What?
were they finding dead people who were bitten in their communities? Because that's kind of a missing key piece of evidence, don't you think? Like, who are they exactly feeding on? No one.
Just the people who
no one
get
that I know
sick.
has marks.
Just the people who
I
get sick. I'm not
guess, I
sure,
guess.
like, about, like, actual evidence of bites or anything, but, like, the thing was people would, like, recognize the person who died and say that they saw them coming to their door, which is something I want to talk about later, and so it was kind of like this mass
okay.
hysteria thing of, like, but it honestly could have just been, like, mourning, you know, like, dreams, like, or just blaming it because why not, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how the Salem witch trial happened.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I want to talk about Petar Blažević. So this is like a German name, obviously, but yeah. So this happened in Serbia, and he died in 1725. He was believed to have become a vampire after his death and to have killed 9 of his fellow villagers. This is a really, really popular.
Was he just like? He was just a dude.
Yeah, he was just a dude. He was a pretty chill guy, from what I could tell.
Okay. All right.
And there's a lot of documentation about this, which is why it's like super famous. Like people like to talk about him as being like the first, I don't know, not the first vampire, but you know, assumed vampire. Okay, so Petar Blažević lived in a village called Kisilova. This is in the part of Serbia that went from the Ottoman to Austrian and back to Ottoman Empire. And so it's kind of confusing in terms of understanding where this is actually happening, but it's somewhere over there.
Got it.
So the reason people thought this had something to do with him, like the following deaths, and they were kind of saying, oh, he's a vampire, it's because after he died, within 24 hours, in 8 days, 9 other people perished back to back. So we're talking 8 days, 9 people, dead. And
wow.
Yeah, on their deathbeds, the victims claimed to have been throttled by Blažević. His wife said that he had visited her and asked for his shoes. She moved to another village because she was scared. And then there's some legends that say that he came back to his house demanding food from his son, and when the son refused, he brutally murdered him, biting and drinking his blood. That's just a rumor, though. I don't think there's anything documented of that.
Okay.
So the the villagers decided to check the body, dig it up, see what was going on, and guess what they found?
What?
Growing hair, a growing beard, and growing nails.
I guess that is kind of weird. Go ahead, explain.
Isn't that normal though? Like, isn't that something that happens when you're dead? It keeps
No,
growing?
like I'm not sure.
It doesn't grow
that
forever,
I
but
mean,
it's just because your hair is already dead skin cells, so like it's still popping out.
yeah, but your body isn't pumping blood. Like no. Like nothing pumps out if there's no energy going through your body. Like all your cells are dead, so they're not gonna. Even if it's waste, they're not gonna. How can they push it out? There's no life.
But we
in
just
you.
talked about how you push out waste when you're dead.
That's different. That is immediate. It happens like within hours because your muscles tense up, and then like I don't think there's an equivalent like that with hair and nails. I'll like look into it. Maybe there's been a couple of just weird cases where that's a thing, but anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so the people of Kisilova demanded that Frombald, he was like one of their administrative people, be present with the priest as they interred the body. And at first he was like, oh hell no, like we're not doing that, like we're not playing that game, that's ridiculous. But then the townspeople kind of pushed him into it by saying that he was abandoning their town, and that to save all of their lives, then he would have to do it. And so he's like, okay, fine, let's dig up a fucking body, like let's do this, like let's get crazy. And so they got a priest, and he was like, this priest, he was like, oh my god, this is indeed a vampire. And he just super dressed it up. He was like, this body has not decomposed, the hair is growing, blood could be seen in the mouth. And so people just were freaking out. And what it kind of sounds like happened is that all of these people, like a ton of people, all attacked the corpse in a rage. And they like staked it through the heart, and like blood, blood flowed from his ears and his mouth, and they claimed it was completely fresh, but I mean, it's a corpse, so how fresh can it be?
I mean, yeah, how do they know that? Did they fucking taste it? Like, hello.
So yeah, they were just kind of going ham, essentially. And Frombald kind of wrote in his report that he felt like all of this should not have happened, but the people were scared, and so he kind of just let it happen, which is, that's fine. Like, whatever. Like, he didn't feel it. He was dead. It's still disgusting and wrong, but, he was in a corner. I don't know. I feel for him. Poor guy.
Okay.
Okay, so the autopsy, there was an autopsy of Plazowitz when he first died, and the coroner, I guess you could call it, I don't know if there actually was a coroner, but they said, a witness said, "I did not detect the slightest odor that is otherwise characteristic of the dead, and the body was completely fresh." Yeah, so...
I mean...
he had just died. But...
yeah, like, hadn't he just died? Like, how long ago?
I don't know how long until the witness, like, looked at the body for the autopsy, but, like, my understanding is, like, this was just a bunch of stupid people saying things that people took and were like, well, this must mean he's a vampire,
Or vampires are real and he was feeding on little children and they did it right to kill him. Again, twice. I don't know.
I guess. I mean, who knows? Like, maybe that actually stopped it. Or maybe they all just had to live with the fact that they dismembered a body for no reason.
It's just like every time you or I, or every time anyone says something like, God, like, oh, these people were so stupid in doing X or Y, whatever they did. Like, in my mind, it always feels like when characters in movies say something like that, and then there's like a camera cut to the scene where that exact thing is happening, and it is real, and the danger was real, and it cuts back to whatever secondary character is talking about, like, oh, that's such bullshit. Like, that could never happen. Oh, people are so stupid. Like, that's literally what it feels like to me. And that's why I always say something like, or it was fucking real. I don't know. You don't know, Shannon.
So maybe, like, the aliens that are watching and recording this are flashing back to you in your bedroom with no pants on.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, so now I wanted to give you another vampire sighting. This... I originally found on Listverse, but I actually pulled more information from the Wikipedia page because the Listverse wasn't that long.
Okay.
So this was published by Aaron Short in 2014, and this is about the Highgate vampire. And the Highgate vampire was said to haunt London in the 1970s. Alrighty, so in 1969... dead animals were found sporting neck wounds and drained of their blood. This was all happening, or, they were finding the bodies in Highgate Cemetery in London. Witnesses reported a tall figure that emitted an evil aura and had a hypnotic stare in the cemetery. This one man supposedly encountered the Highgate vampire, and it transfixed him, gluing him to the spot. He was unable to move, and he felt completely confused when he tried to leave. He wasn't able to. And then it disappeared. So, what this kind of did was it created this, like, secondary craze in the 1960s in London of people being like, this is real, this is real. And so a bunch of vampire hunters came, and they were digging up graves, and people were not happy about this at all. So stuff that happened was the people were digging up graves. Young people who were interested in the occult would go there at night, and they would vandalize, or they would do rituals and stuff. People would rearrange flowers that were placed in front of graves into circular patterns, with the arrows of the blooms pointing to a new grave which was uncovered. And then the coffin would be open and the body disturbed, and then people would actually drive iron stakes through the lid of the coffin into the corpse for pageantry.
When did you say this was?
The 60s.
This is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, in the 1960s, people were doing this shit?
Yeah. And, like, just the pageantry of it and just the weirdness of it, and they were never caught. Like, the people who did this, never caught.
Okay.
Yeah. So the general consensus was people were doing this because of the Highgate vampire. They were freaking out. And this is just kind of a weird thing I kind of wanted to talk about because, like, this isn't going to be like a super long conversation, but someone sent a letter to the Hampstead and Highgate Express, and it was David Ferrant. I guess he was some kind of occultist. And so this person claimed that they saw the gray figure, and a lot of people began to reply, and people began talking about how there were ghosts in the cemetery, a man in a tall hat, a spectral cyclist, a woman in white, all kinds of things. Like, they were just saying all this was happening. And so what happened was Sean Manchesters, who was another occultist in the area at the time, heard about it as well. And so Ferrant and Manchester decided that they were both going to have like a rivalry over this. Like, Manchester was like, okay, I'm gonna hold an exorcism on Friday the 13th on TV. And we're gonna broadcast this, and hopefully, like, I'm gonna be able to take it down and you're not gonna be able to do it. And so it was like this pissing contest between two fucking like spiritualists, and they did broadcast it, and then within 2 hours a mob of quote unquote hunters from London swarmed into the cemetery, and police were basically there trying to stop them because it's like, stop, just stop. And I mean, I really doubt anything happened, because that seems to be the most interesting part of that story of how that whole thing went down, is that the police were like, everyone needs to stop, just stop. So maybe they did kill it, or maybe they were just pissing all over each other for no reason.
I mean, I just love this story. Like, holy shit.
It's
like,
just, people are crazy.
I can't believe this was happening in the 1960s. Like, the people were... I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe we're just far too modern folk for our own good. Like, maybe we should be more superstitious, watch our backs a little more, believe in this stuff because it's out there. Like, I don't know. Personally, I don't think so. I think vampires are bullshit, but, like, holy shit. That is interesting. I just like your story, just honestly, just for the interest factor.
Right.
That was just interesting to hear.
Exactly.
So, well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I had a couple more things to add. First, I had a couple more things to add to the background. The article that I was reading on this had a section about how people thought that vampires were created, and that specifically was very interesting to me. So how, not only like how to identify them, they spoke about the garlic and the mirrors and the Bibles and whatnot, but like how they were created to begin with, according to different cultures, what their origin stories were, basically. So apparently in Slavic and Chinese tradition, any corpse that was jumped over by an animal, like a cat or a dog, usually a cat or a dog, that was feared to become one of the undead. What the fuck? Okay, that's kind of too easy, but whatever. Like my dog humps my leg. Like, am I gonna become a vampire? What does being jumped over mean? Like, a body with a wound that had not been treated with boiling water was also at risk.
Wow.
And this was like, yeah.
I love that. I love that because that's the kind of thing I would say to anti-vaxxers. I would be like, yeah, just like put your vaccine over some steam before you have the doctor inject it, and it'll totally get rid of all the stuff that'll give your child diseases.
Yeah, it'll get rid of the autism if you boil it a little bit.
This is how dumb people are.
Apparently, also in Russian folklore, vampires were said to have once been witches, or people who had rebelled against the Russian Orthodox Church while they were alive.
Living for it.
So, yeah. So if you rebelled against the Russian Orthodox Church, against the Russian Orthodox Church, then you'd become a vampire. So, I mean, obviously, this is like a lot of bullshit. Like, it was just the Russian Church trying to keep people in check, like. But whatever. Apparently, you mentioned, I think, some of these, but in these same in the Slavic culture specifically, like a big cultural practice that they used in order to prevent people from becoming vampires once they were buried was apparently to bury them upside down. That was apparently really widespread. Also, to place earthly objects such as scythes or sickles near the grave to satisfy any demons trying to enter the body, or to appease the dead so that it would not wish to arise from its coffin. So,
can I actually
interesting shit.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
So I actually learned this in my medical terminology class. You know all those memes where it's like they show the cages over graves, and it's like, oh, these existed so that because people were afraid they're gonna rise from the dead. That's a load of horse shit. It's actually because the whole medical field began because doctors were unable to get corpses to practice on. And so they would actually dig them up, and people were not happy about it. So they started caging the graves.
Oh yeah, totally. I remember like reading about that in history class or something.
Yeah.
So they had to like encage the fucking.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I was gonna say something, but I forget. Anyway, that's really interesting. I was gonna say that something that is true though, some like a very strange fact that is true about corpses is that apparently like in the old times, coroners would actually legit like put little bells around like corpses like toes in case they were not dead, because I guess it was hard in the old times to tell if someone was actually dead or just deeply comatose, and so if they woke up, like they would put bells on them so like you could hear them. I don't know how well you could hear them if they were 6 feet fucking underground, but whatever. Regardless, maybe it was for when they were still in the morgue. Maybe that's what it was for. But yeah, they put bells on their feet. Did you know that?
That's like, no, I didn't know that. But like, that's like neutral good.
Yeah.
Whereas like chaotic evil would just be like, well, like just double tap them, you know? Like, let's make sure if we're really going to do this.
just drive a stick through their heart, and if they wake up, then that's they were alive. Oh my god, that reminds me of like the witch shit. Remember, like when we were talking about the witch trials, like the way they would prove they were witches was so fucking like moronic, because it was like throw them over a cliff. If they die, they were not a witch or something like that. Like
it's ridiculous.
Okay, so now the meat of what I want to talk about is is this. I found a subreddit.
Oh, he found a subreddit.
It is pure gold. It is called Real Vampires.
Oh my god. Okay.
And it is exactly what you think it is about. It is about people who think they are real vampires, and it is no irony here. There's no sarcasm.
Oh my God.
It is all self-serious.
Wow.
So, the first 20 minutes that I was reading this, I was like, okay, like, haha, like it's funny, it's gone on long enough. And then I realized that it was not a joke and that it was serious. And I was like, oh my god. And then I just got sad. So I was like, I can't believe this is the real world. Whatever. But listen, we have a podcast where I talk about how the Mothman is real. So for all I know, I'm one of the crazies too. So whatever. Okay. r/real vampires. What is it about? Like I said, people who think they're real vampires, they give each other advice. They give each other life advice. Also advice on how to find blood.
Oh, no.
Legally.
No, legally. Just don't. Like, how about that? How about you have like a nice juice?
Put some beet in it so it looks red, and then just make it.
Have some raspberry LaCroix. I don't know.
Okay. There is one post specifically that like really stood out to me. It was like this like pseudo inspirational post that someone was trying to make called "What Being a Vampire Really Means," and it's supposed to be like almost like philosophical, and I'm just like, stop it now. So to summarize, it's long, but I highlighted only a couple of excerpts from the article, and that's what I'm gonna read next. This is just gold. Okay, so this person, I don't know the username, but honestly, probably best I don't mention it. So they were talking about what being a vampire really means, and they ask themselves the question, how can I make sure I am a vampire? And they give this advice to the readers. They say, if you notice many traits and you choose to go to a doctor, have a checkup, and if he says that you are actually fine and nothing is wrong, that would be a good start. So he mentions traits. So what I found from this subreddit is that if you all of a sudden have a sudden thirst for blood, if you only get a lot of pleasure or energy from being around people for long periods of time. These are all apparently like traits or signs, quote unquote, that you get when are you don't become a vampire, by the way. According to these people, you awaken your vampirism. Like you've always been one, but it did, like, the awakening didn't happen to you yet. That's also a thing they talk about, quote unquote, awakening. That's like a big part of becoming a vampire. When was your awakening? Oh, mine was June 13th of last year. When was yours? Like, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So honestly, to me, this belongs on Tumblr, not on Reddit. I'm like flabbergasted that this is a thing, but whatever. I guess it's big enough of a community. So he says, personally, I'm perfectly healthy. I have enhanced senses, which in parentheses he says, which is not really that good of a thing if you ask me. He says he has healthy bones, digestive system, teeth, pretty much everything, but there is one issue. I am low on iron. That, for a vampire,
I know a lot of
is
people
actually
who are
pretty
low
normal.
iron.
Yeah, my boyfriend is low on iron, so for all I know, he's a fucking vampire. He says, without being sure, I believe that this is the main reason we need blood. Now, listen. When I read that this guy was low on iron, and that apparently a lot of people in this community are low on iron, the first thing I thought is, are these legit just a group of people that do not know that iron supplements are a thing, and when they drink blood, they feel good, obviously, because it has iron, and so they made the erroneous connection that they're fucking vampires.
Wouldn't
like,
it be more logical, or wouldn't it be easier to find iron supplements at the store than like 2 liters of blood?
You do not know these people. I don't know. For all I know, listen, I do not know. Okay, so he says, so I had some issues and went to the doctor. He said I'm low on it, and then he gave me pills for some time. Okay, never mind. So he got pills.
Okay.
He says, at first I was okay, but after they were done, I wasn't. He later on gave me the same prescription, but didn't do anything again. I knew it was useless to keep up with it, so I let it go. He says in parentheses, the reason I didn't keep going with them is because they had certain side effects, which I wanted to avoid. So I'm guessing, like, the supplements worked, but he stopped taking them because they had the side effects, and he was like, what can I take if I can't take these pills? I know, blood. He says, and then, of course, prepare yourself for this, there is photophobia, for which I was also taking pills, but did nothing either. Of course, this guy is 1, low on iron, and 2, has photophobia. You know what that means, right? Like, basically, they can't be out on the light because,
oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, like, there's an actual disorder where people are photosensitive, but this guy just has photophobia. It's just a phobia. And I'm like, bitch, get over yourself. Like, what? You have photophobia? But whatever. I know it's a real thing, but I don't know that it is common at all. So,
Yeah.
For how many people are in this subreddit claiming they have photophobia, I'm like, bitch, no, you don't. Anyway, he says he also took pills for that, but it didn't work. He says, the one sign that can assure you of vampirism is the thirst, which unfortunately is a real thing. You may get slightly addicted to blood. The taste, the scent, the way it will make you feel, everything about it will attract you. Okay, pause. Blood tastes like fucking asshole. Does it not? Like, I've tasted a drop of blood, and it's just like hardcore metal taste.
It doesn't taste that bad to me, but it's not something that I would have liked to drink.
Vampire.
No, it's just, you're not supposed to, for one. It makes you really, really sick. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, but anyway, he says he loves the taste and the scent. Alrighty, my mate, fine. He says, if you find yourself liking blood more than you should, whatever the fuck that metric is, you might be a vampire. And then there's the question, but what do you really get from acknowledging yourself as a vampire? Why not just recognize your body as a sick human? And he answers his own question by saying, this is all up to you. You're free to be having all the traits, but still believe you are just a human and nothing more. But the good thing about letting it out is that you can find other people with the same quote-unquote issues as you, which can understand you and actually help you. Like, this is all very positive and like yay for him. And I'm just like reading this like, oh my god, this is a thing. Like, okay, whatever, that's not too bad. Then someone asked him the question, okay, so how do you get blood? Like, what the like, you just skipped over that. Like, we need more details. How the fuck do you get blood? And this guy's like, oh, first, actually, I need to read this to you. So this is from the same excerpt that I was reading earlier. It's just a little bit more of it. So he says, real vampires, once awakened, will not make such a big deal about it. He gets really philosophical about it, really like self-righteous. He's like, they won't say it to friends or family, nor post it on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. They will share it to the ones they feel the need to go
So he's a hipster
and
vampire.
go online to. Yes, he's a hipster vampire. He says vampires will go online to seek assistance, not fame. And I'm like, wow. And then everyone in the train stood up and clapped. So, okay. He ends like his original thread by saying this, which is so like fucking like crazy and contradictory. He's like, by the way, important notice, if you're not entirely, or at least mostly, sure that you are a vampire, then avoid drinking blood. Human digestive system cannot digest it properly, and your body will be showing certain malfunctions in the future. And I'm like, do you think you're not a human? Like,
this just has creepypasta written all over it. Like, he's just like...
No, this is not a creepypasta. This is just a random-ass post from someone who sounds very self-serious to me.
I guess, but that, like, disclaimer at the end was just so, like, oh, like, please don't actually drink blood, guys. I know I'm talented, but, like, don't do it.
But, like, I mean, the thing to me was, like, he says, like, human digestive system cannot digest it properly. And I'm like, does this guy think he's not a human? Like, if he thought he was a human and he thought he was a vampire, like, I could accept that. That's a level of crazy that I can, like, deal with. But if the guy legit thinks he's not a human, like, I'm done.
I mean, there's honestly probably mental illnesses that make you believe that. I don't know.
I guess. This sounds like vampire kin to me. Remember when, like, something kin was a thing? Like, X kin or Y kin? Like,
no.
Oh my god. Wow. I remember the days. Yeah. Oh, wow. Like 2015, 2016. That's what I remember from this decade. Are you kidding me? Like the wolfkin, the dogkin, the catkin people from Tumblr. Amazing.
I'm uncultured.
I'll need to show you later. Anyway, Planetkin was my favorite, by the way. Okay, so someone asked about the blood. So, Jimmy Boy, whatever your name is, how do you get blood? Please tell us. And he says, blood is taken by a willing donor.
Ew.
This donor is usually a close friend who knows about our condition and can offer some every now and then. Nevertheless, there are substitutes that can help a vampire should he not have a donor. Okay, Shannon, what do you think the substitutes are?
Well, does he have his red wings?
No, he does not.
I don't know then.
Okay, he says, you can use rare steak. You can buy blood, though not many do this for obvious reasons, he says. Yeah, no shit. And others, which I cannot think of right now. But every vampire can agree that nothing works or feels better than fresh human blood.
Ew.
So apparently, like, the way I understand this, when he's talking about the willing donors, I literally... from me again, and for some reason I'm still in this toxic ass friendship, so I'm gonna give him some. So I'm gonna put like an IV into my fucking vein and then like let him suck the other end of it. And like I'm like, this is legit what the way he gets it. Is that what a quote unquote willing donor is? Because like, holy shit. Yeah.
Ew.
So that's what I have.
Ew. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. That's gross. Also, I will say I love rare steak. Am I a vampire?
Yeah, that's great. Maybe. I hate rare steak. I cannot eat meat ever that is not well done.
That is horrible, and you should be ashamed, because when it's well done, you've basically killed the meat, and you want it to still be, like,
listen,
robust.
The meat is dead, okay? Like, the meat is dead. I am merely driving a silver stick through its heart. Like, it's dead. Like... I know. I don't know. Maybe it's like just, you know, I grew up in Mexico. Maybe it's a cultural thing. Like carne asada has to be well fucking done, and that's the way I was introduced to beef. So now, literally every time I eat anything, like a steak or a burger, like it has to be well done, ma'am. So
just gotta open your heart, you know.
So definitely. So I'm definitely not a vampire, but sounds like you are.
Maybe I'll start identifying as a vampire, and I'll start getting some blood, and you're gonna donate.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I won't donate blood, but I guess I'll donate to your Patreon so you can buy some yourself. Just try not to get it from any shady places or, yeah. Everyone Everyone, we want to know your thoughts, actually. What I want to know is what the fuck you think about this. So, if you'd like to tell us about it, or if you'd like to suggest a topic for next episode, please do so by DMing us at TalkScary on Twitter. But, like, legit, I want to know what people think about this, especially about the r/real vampires community, because I read so much stuff that I could not get into for sake of time, but it was just, like, insane, and my brain is actually, like, mush right now. But anyway, at TalkScary on Twitter. You can also listen to us on all podcast listening platforms. We are on Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, etc. And yeah, Shannon, anything else?
Yeah, I really want to ask. Okay, so we're gonna go a little BuzzFeed here. Fuck, marry, kill, the Mothman, a gray alien, or shadow people.
Where's Degina?
Degina didn't make it into this. I'm sorry.
Okay, we said gray aliens, shadow people, or the Mothman.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I'll definitely fuck shadow people because I won't even feel it. And that way, like, it's not as traumatic. I will marry a gray alien because they have all kinds of knowledge. Maybe our marriage will be filled with intergalactic trips. Like, I'll get to travel finally. Fuck. And I'll kill the Mothman because he's scary. I mean, we stand and we know you're real, but that doesn't mean I want you here around me at all ever. So you're dead. Okay, I'm gonna turn that on you actually. Fuck, marry, kill.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that. That's kind of. Gonna say like the boy from the sad boy painting, like
Ew.
the crying boy. I was like, well, I can't include that. Degina, Chupacabra, and Jacob Black.
Wait, is that Taylor Lautner character?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm killing Degina because that bitch is crazy. Like, I don't want to be anywhere near her because anything we do together, she's just gonna kill me afterwards.
Got it.
And then I guess, wait, what was the other one? Chupacabra?
Chupacabra, yeah.
Shoot. Okay, I'm gonna.
You sure you don't want to kill the Chupacabra?
No, I'm gonna have sex with Jacob, and I'm gonna marry the Chupacabra.
Wow,
Because me and
okay,
Choops.
why? Reasoning?
Me and Choops can go out at night and we can go and we can kill some sheep because I don't really like sheep that much. They kind of freak me out a little bit.
No, dude, not even that. You can go get yourself some rare steak.
I can
finally,
get some rare
like
steak.
the way you like it.
Choop man
Yeah.
will take good care of me and we'll just live happily ever after.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening. We are having an orgy with who is it? With Jacob Black and
Grace?
who am I fucking? No, no,
Shadow
fucking,
people.
Shadow people. So that's what we're doing tonight. If you want, you can join us. More deets at Talk Scary. Just DM me. We love you. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. Good night.
Goodbye.